Hello, welcome back to this new reading log. I think I'm gonna read more new series that I haven't read before because I still have a bunch of them on the side. Most likely on this video I'm gonna be binge reading whatever I have. Last time was just first volume only because I only had first volume, but this time around, prior to my goal or changing my method, I did buy a bunch of series with multiple volumes, and one of them is Blue Box. So I read 5, and then we got 4, and then 3, and 2, and 1. Our two main characters named Taiki, who is a badminton player, and we got China Su. She's a basketball player. She's a year older than Taiki. Their school is merged with a middle school and a high school. So Taiki has known China Su for a while because they share the same gym. And in this school, it's a very talented sports school because there's other sports they also focus, like gymnasts. And then what else? I think they also mentioned another sports that I forgot. But the main focus on this one is basketball and badminton, a little bit of gymnastics, because Taiki's friend named Hina, she does like a floor dance gymnast. And the reason why she's also in the picture, because this is a sports manga romance. Taiki has the biggest crush on China Su, and then on the side, it looks like Hina, who does the floor dance gymnast, may have a thing for Taiki. So it's like a love triangle, but none of them have confessed their feelings yet, but through and through, you can definitely see the development of their romance. I really like the story so far. This is the 3rd sports manga that I've read, but it includes with romance. Time to time, there's some misunderstanding, awkwardness, especially Taiki, because there's a little bit of twists of fate in this story. A little bit spoiler. Now, Taiki's mom used to play sports, as well as China Su, who happened to be good friends. And then one day, China Su's parents had a bad news about moving abroad. However, China Su doesn't want to move because her main goal is to make sure the basketball team make it to the national. And so she decided to stay behind and live under the same roof as Taiki, which, of course, Taiki was completely surprised and happy at the same time, because his biggest crush is going to be living in the same roof as him. But there were moments where, he was nervous and scared, but deep inside, he's very happy. And you can tell in the story that he wants to confess, but before that, he wants to make sure that he also make it to the national. He's a very good player, but he needs a lot of practice. He does get a lot of practice with a senpai. This story can be very intense because sports is very competitive and a lot of players wants to win. And of course, losing is not the best feeling. However, these players wants to strive for the win and do their best. Aside from that, China Su, she does slowly develop feelings for Taiki, but she doesn't want to admit it yet, because she really wants to focus on getting to the national as well as Taiki. And at the same time, China Su, I think she has only 1 year left. And of course, Taiki is going to be very sad. But until then, they're doing their best on their sports. But at the same time, there's some awkwardness. And I think in the end, they're just happy, playing sports and being around each other. And yeah, I really like it so far. There is an anime. I think the anime came out this year, and so excited to see that. But let me see if I can read more before I can see the anime, because sometimes the anime covers about 5 to 8 volumes, so maybe I'll do a little bit of research. I think this is still an ongoing manga. Let me know if you guys read this manga yet. And this is by Koji Mira. This is Hina that does the floor gymnast. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of other characters in the story, but they're so cool and fun. Everybody's super supportive. There's not like a big animosity with each other. I think when it comes to sports, you think there'll be like some enemies or, you know, very negative, but not really. Even like Taiki's competitor, he actually gave him some pointers because he attended like a college event because of a senpai, and one of their competitor was also there, and yeah, he was really nice to give Taiki some pointers. But yeah, it's a really cute romance, to be honest. Usually, I think this is like my first time reading a sports and romance together. But yeah, looking forward to read more of Blue Box. Okay, I have 2 volumes of Kino's Journey, The Beautiful World. It is by Iruka Shiomiya. Original story by Keiichi Sigsawa. Original character design Kohaku Koroboshi. So I actually had volume 6, but of course I can't read volume 6 because I don't have 3, 4, 5. Yes, I had like a random volume. I didn't expect this story to be unusual, weird, and unexpected. So Kino, she's a girl. She actually adopted this name that she met at travel when she was young. And she comes from a land of adults. And apparently, when you reach certain age, I think 12, you get this operation. And I guess you become an adult. But then she didn't want that. And her parents was really pissed off. And then something happened to the travel that she met. Yeah. And that is why she decided to adopt the travel's name, named Kino. And then the traveler had a motorbike named Hermes. And together, they're on this journey in a very unknown, uncertain adventure. And one of them was they entered this country or land where there was no one, except everybody's just doing their own thing because they had this operation where they can hear people's thought, and it kind of drove everyone crazy. And the solution was to stay on their house without anybody's present. And then the next thing they met was just 3 guys who was working in a railway, fixing the railway, but they've been working in this railway for so long they never went back home, and they had to work in order to support their family. And then the next country or land was a country was just run by a king, but people were so mad because the king was more focused on himself, and if anybody was against the king, they'll be persecuted. And slowly the people decided to take action. And once the king was out of the picture, things didn't get better. It even got worser. And then so she did met one person left in this land. And this person was kind of like desperate for her to stay. But of course, Kino only stayed at least 3 days whenever she enter a new place or land. And yeah, so far it's been like a weird, unusual journey for Kino. I think the last one was probably the most disturbing one because you got these 2 countries had a war for a long time and they suddenly stopped, but they still want to have a war, but instead of fighting each other, they decide to vent their madness or their feelings onto another tribe or country, which was very disturbing. And it just made me realize a lot of things, especially what's going on in our world. And so, if you know, you know. Yeah, if you want to read this manga, be ready. You might have to have a strong stomach and even have a good mindset, because this read can teach you a lot of things, because it's technically not a beautiful world, except the main issue is the people who are causing a lot of let's just say they just make things worse for themselves instead of finding a solution, which they thought they did find a solution, but instead it just ended up horribly. And so Kino and Hermes, the motorbike, it's very unplanned, and they just don't know where to go except just accept wherever they end up. And so yeah, hopefully that all makes sense. I try not to give too much because, you know, I try to avoid spoiler, but I'll be honest, you must have a strong stomach and also have a good mindset at the same time. I'll do my best to flip some pages, or maybe not, because I don't know if it's kind of like appropriate to show. It's not explicit, it's just, it can be a lot and overwhelming when you read this manga, if that makes sense. And yeah, I had this manga for a while now, like for a while, and so it was time to read. So this is Kina Journeys. I think there's an anime, I'm not quite sure. So if you have read this, let me know what you think, because I feel like this series is not everybody's cup of tea. I want to show you guys where I've been picking my manga. I've done this before. I would choose manga from my shelf, but this time it's on this section. I have some, you know, shrine and displays on top, which is, it's gonna be not fun moving them around, but it is what it is. So there's a gap because I grabbed a bunch of there. I think I'm gonna read Reborn next, maybe some Get Backers. I already read Anameta. I could start reading Amazing Agent Luna, but I'm not gonna promise anything. And then we still have Azumanga Daioh. That's actually a complete series I finally completed. Let's see what other potential I could read. I do need to continue Bungo Stray Dogs because I think I only read first volume. Oh, we have My Little Monster. Banana Fish. Well, the goal was to read something new and just binge read whatever I have. So I don't think I can start with Banana Fish and Bungo Stray Dogs because I already read like one volume. Okay, Yakitate. I do have XX Holic on the other side. Maybe some Bring It On. And so that's the plan so far, is to read manga, what I have here that's unread, especially if it's really, you know, new to me. All the manga in the back, it's already been read, or I'm just collecting them because I like the anime, like Attack on Titan. Never read it, but I love the anime so much. And so that's the plan for this reading log, is to read as much on this section because I know I have a few that I haven't read yet. Just read another new series called Reborn. This is story and art by Akira Amano. This is the same mangaka who wrote Ranka Monohashi. I only have 2 volumes so far. Besides, this series or volumes are out of print, so it's gonna be hard for me to find. I think this is available on Manga Plus Up. I think I'm gonna check it out because that's why I read the Ranka Monohashi. So this story is a big roller coaster in my opinion. We have our main character, Reborn. He looks like a baby, but he's not. He was assigned from the Vogola family and an assassin. Was it an assassin or mafia family? Oh, wait. He's an assassin from a mafia family in Italy, and he was sent to Japan to find the next mafia boss, which is a middle schooler named Suna. I think it's Suda. Of course, he was in big shock to find out that he's the next mafia boss, more like the 10th mafia boss, is because of his great parents, not great parents, great grandfather, something like that. And now when it comes to Reborn, he has this special weapon that whenever Suna is in desperate situation or cases, he will use this weapon to shoot at him at different various parts to help him become strong. Like he has like a special ability. And yeah, it's been again a big roller coaster story. And then along the way he meets other eccentric characters like this guy. He's part of the mafia. At first he was against Suna being the boss, but eventually he agreed to become his minion and help him whenever he needs help. They also not hire but recruit a student named Yamamoto, which is a classmate of Suna, because Reborn sometimes has an eye for certain characters that they could be a potential to be part of the family, and they're mostly so far student, because at the very end of volume 2 there's this guy named Hibari that he wants to recruit, but in the meantime he'll just keep an eye on him. There's this girl named Bianchi. He's very obsessed of Reborn. And there's another baby looking character that comes from another family that wants to defeat Reborn, but Reborn pretend he's not there and he's trying to kill Reborn. But of course Reborn is a very professional assassin, and so he always find a way to, you know, avoid everything that the other baby looking does. I forgot his name. It's not bad of a story. It can be a lot, and again, it's just a big roller coaster. It's very unpredictable. It can be fun, but I'm just like, what is going on? There's a lot of things happening at the same time. So basically, you know, Suna, he's on training mode to become the next mafia boss, and it is Reborn's job to make sure he trains him well and prepares him for any upcoming danger, because you'll never know who he may bump into. Maybe another assassin who's after him or someone else, and maybe causing a lot of trouble, because they can show up at his school, even in his household, even during the time when he was walking home. Since a lot of the assassins carry weapons, like this dude, I forgot his name, and he's actually a student too. He became a student, and he carries like these small bombs, and there's just one time he just, you know, use it outside of school, and the students are just so oblivious, and even at home. And yeah, again, it's just a big roller coaster. So this manga came out in the early 2000, mid 2000, I think, and that means the illustration is always good. A big fan. It can be super wordy, but honestly it goes pretty quickly, because again, it's a big roller coaster. A lot of things happen all the time. It's never boring in my opinion. And so yeah, I'm gonna probably read online. Hopefully it is available on Manga Plus app. I apologize in advance, my heater is on right now. So onto reading another new series called Gintama. I read 1 and 2. I do have a random volume 9, but of course I can't read further on. And so this is by Hideaki Sorachi. Alright, this is a Shonen Jump. This manga came out sometime in early 2000, I believe. So story so far, I actually like it. It's very goofy and silly. I think because the writing on this manga is very cool. I feel like they use a lot of slang that you never expect them to use. But yeah, Gintama is basically about where Japan got invaded by an alien called a Manto, and basically the future of samurai was replaced by aliens, but you still have resistance who wants to keep fighting and get rid of the aliens. However, that's very hard because they pretty much took over Japan. And then our main character, Jin Toki, he is a former samurai, but nowadays he just wants to live a peaceful life that loves to eat sweets. And he does have like friends named Kagura and Shinpachi. They kind of join him on a whim because he has like a business to help out people with odd jobs basically. And at this time it's kind of hard to find a job, especially if you're a former samurai. Now Kagura, she's actually from another planet. She went to Earth to find a job, but she went to a wrong business. In other words, she got a job that wasn't suited for her. Now when it comes to her, she's very strong and skillful. Apparently wherever she's from is very rare, and the people that she was working on was just trying to use her, but she got away from that because of the help in Jontoki. When it comes of this three, they always find themselves trouble everywhere they go, but in the end they're very helpful with others. And again, they always find themselves trouble, always fighting and getting in trouble with the police and all sorts. And they also live with this granny Jintoki and his granny are not related, but somehow Granny took him in. It's really funny. There's a lot of fights, a lot of good action. Again, the writing is just very funny and entertainment. I do like it so far. However, finding the rest of the volume is going to be tough because this is an out of print manga. Who knows, maybe it's available online, and I believe there is an anime. Overall, Jintoki and his friends are just trying to do their best to stay out of trouble, but that's not gonna happen because, again, trouble always finds them. Now, he does have a former friend who wants Jintoki to come back, but Jintoki doesn't want that to happen because he just wants a normal days since his samurai days is over. Then you also got these police who kind of act like samurai, but they're not. And yeah, everyone's just trying to live their lives because aliens are just taking over. And so there is some like futuristic stuff in the story, kind of cool because a lot of people are just still wearing I'm not sure what time of period this is. I'm not sure if it's Edo period. I could be wrong. And since this is from the early 2000s, love the illustration, of course. Here we go. Is it focusing? Sorry if it's kind of like bad lighting. It's really fun to read, I'm not gonna lie. And I just love the sarcasm. There's just a lot of silly moments, and the action is pretty nice. So yeah. Okay, this one, all I'm gonna say, this story has so much potential because our two main character has some quite unusual power. He has like a lightning bolt where he can create lightning or some sort of static electricity. And then this guy has a third eye where he can hallucinate his target, and they call themselves Get Backers because they have this private agency that they run, and basically if someone needs something back, that is their job. But most of their like cases are very crazy and wild, and they mostly deal with like gangster. However, the thing that made me really 50-50 about this story is there's a lot of inappropriate scenes that I just don't like it. Yeah, this is definitely not my vibe, but the story has so much potential because at the very end they were asked to get this cat back, a lucky cat, those lucky cat that you see in the restaurant. But then I think during their mission somebody slipped a floppy disk in this guy's bag, and now they want that floppy disk because it contains something very important. And now these people are after them, and it looks like the people that were in charge of hiring them are now the bad guys. But because I was skimming through the second volume, it seems like the bad guys are running like an illegal black market. I'm not sure if they kidnap people, and I don't know. But again, this story has so much potential. I wish they never, or the inappropriate scene was not added, but like it was just like, oh, that was really unnecessary. But it is what it is. I am just gonna drop this series, unfortunately, because if it keeps up with this whole inappropriate scenes, I don't want to continue because it's just gonna make me uncomfortable. That's just not my thing. Again, such a not bad of a story, but it just has so much potential because these two have a very unusual power. They're both 18, kind of like homeless, so they try to get jobs here and there, but not entirely. Other than that, it's not bad. Like I said, it has potential, but you know what, I'm just gonna drop it. Not sure if there's an anime. Yeah, that's all I can say. Excuse my heater, it is on right now. So I just finished reading this manga series called Full Night. Excuse me. This is story and art by Kasumi Yasuda. I'm sorry, I'm burping. I really like this story so far. It's quite different from other story I've read before. We have humans have to deal with darkness. There's no sun, there's no light. it's just full darkness, which means all the plants starts to wither away because they need sunlight. And in order for the human to even have oxygen, they created this thing called Transflora organization, which makes the humans turns to plants called spiriflora. However, there's a catch, there's a procedure, and if someone do volunteer, they get paid. However, they would rather want someone who is near to death to join this cause. But most of the time, I think some people chose to volunteer because they do get paid and they can use that money to give it to their family and friends who needs it a lot. Because in this story, there's a big poverty. People face a lot of where it's just hard to afford. Everything's expensive, maybe due to the darkness or something else. Yes, our main character, Toshiro, he does face a lot of financial issues, even trying to get another job because something happened to his prior job. And then his best friend works in this Transflora organization. And then they found out later that Toshiro had some toxic water in his body. Since he can't afford dialysis, he had to join to become a spiriflora in order to get his body clean. And he didn't mind because he needed the money for himself and his mom. And then something happened to the mom. And then they found out that Toshiro can hear or listen to the plants by the sound of it. And so the best friend decided to get him a job because he's like a special cause. And throughout the story, he does help someone find a certain spiriflora. Then after that, they found out that they have an enemy who is a spiriflora, but this spiriflora has been causing crimes. Basically, it's been kind of like, targeting people. They don't know if there's a pattern, and it's unusual because Toshiro saw this spiriflora and something happened to his best friend. Then they realize, how can this spiriflora can move around? Usually when a human turns to a spiriflora, it takes about 2 years to be fully developed, to be fully bloom. But so in some cases, sometimes it can be early. But this spiriflora, it's not possible to move around, even have any activity, and somehow it is targeting people in public, and they don't know. And that is why Toshiro decided to join the investigation case to find out, because Toshiro can, hear thoughts of the plants. And that's basically the story so far, and I really, really like it. It's very different. I've heard or seen this manga before. I'm not sure when it came out or how many volumes are out there, but yeah, this is the illustration. Let me show you an example of spiriflora. So this is basically how it look like. They're humans that becomes plants because they need plants in order to survive, because they need oxygen. So I'm not sure if I mentioned that, which I should have in the beginning. But you get the gist. In order to survive, you have to find another way to grow plants, and they thought of human beings. But yeah, I really like the story so far. There's a lot of, agony, a lot of emotions. People just go through a lot in this story, and so definitely be ready for that. Yeah, looking forward to read more of this series called Full Night. Alright, let's wrap up this new reading log. This reading log was another trying new series, not first volume only, but trying new series for the first time. So I read Blue Box. It's a sports manga, anime, romance. I like it so far. Kina's Journey, The Beautiful World. To me, this was an eye-opening about the humans going through so much different situation. Then we got Reborn. This one's kind of fun, a big fantasy. Then we got Gintama. I find this a little bit goofy, fun to read. Now, Get Backers, I did decide to drop it after reading the first volume. In my opinion, it has so much potential. I just didn't like that there were some parts it was very uncomfortable for me. And then lastly, we have Full Night. Oh, sorry, I got the volumes backwards, but this one was also good. I really enjoy a lot. It was so different from other manga stories I've read before. I can't wait to read more of that. Some of these I'm already looking for the next volume, but I'm pretty sure Reborn is hard to find. Kinu's Journey, it's out there, just gotta find it harder. Even Gintama, it's another series that's sort of, well, it is an out of print series. Full Night, yeah, that one's not hard to find. And then Blue Box, I prefer to get it as a set or bundle, so hopefully I can find them. And because I really want to watch the anime, especially, this was a good reading log for the past 2 weeks. I do my best to read as much as I can. I think my next reading log is probably trying to catch up other series that I haven't read for so long. I think I still have a lot of unread new series in my collection, but I'm going to take a break and catch on other series that, you know, I haven't read for a while. So I hope you guys enjoyed this reading log. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.